On June 21st, 2025, just past midnight in Tehran, 7 invisible aircraft streaked silently across Iranian skies. Within 27 minutes, 3 of the most fortified nuclear sites in the world were reduced to rubble. No declaration, no warning, just fire, silence, and questions. This wasn't just an airstrike. It was the climax of a shadow war, fought with leaks, lies, and whispered threats across continents. A war no one officially declared, but everyone knew was coming. They called it Operation Midnight Hammer. To understand why it happened, you have to rewind decades. Iran's nuclear story doesn't start in 2025. It begins in the 1950s, when the United States helped Iran build its first reactor under the Atoms for Peace program. But after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, everything changed. Suspicion replaced cooperation. Transparency faded. Underground enrichment began. Iran always claimed it wanted nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. But Western intelligence, independent inspectors, and whistleblowers all suggested otherwise. There were secret facilities, centrifuges buried beneath mountains, traces of uranium enriched far beyond peaceful need. By early 2025, new alarms were ringing. A leaked IAEA report revealed uranium enriched up to 90% purity, detected near Isfahan, just a whisper away from weapons grade. Iran said it was sabotage. Western analysts weren't convinced. At the same time, satellite surveillance picked up strange activity at Iran's ports. Shipping containers marked fertilizer and plastics were arriving from China in the dead of night. But they weren't fertilizer. They contained perchlorate, used to make advanced solid-fueled rockets. Faster, longer range, and harder to detect. Leaked U.S. intelligence suggested some rockets were sold to Russia. In exchange, Russia was providing targeting software and access to sensitive Soviet-era materials. China denied everything, called it Western fear-mongering. But multiple nations, France, the UK, even neutral Sweden, confirmed the chemical trails were real. Then came the biggest leak of all. A mysterious figure, codenamed Black Cactus, sent satellite images and internal memos to journalists in Berlin. The images showed mobile warhead vehicles, a high-explosive testing site deep in the Kavir Desert, and a date, June 24th. The leak suggested Iran was preparing for a full-scale underground nuclear test, and the world held its breath. Israeli Prime Minister Eli Gantz issued a thinly veiled ultimatum. If the United States didn't act, Israel would, unilaterally. Saudi Arabia raised its alert level. Qatar pulled diplomats from Tehran. Meanwhile, American bombers were already in the air. They had taken off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. The B-2 Spirits, stealth bombers invisible to radar, refueled twice mid-air, crossed the Atlantic, navigated the Caspian, and reached Iranian airspace undetected. Each bomber carried 2 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator bombs, designed to destroy deeply buried bunkers. They were the heaviest non-nuclear munitions in America's arsenal. At 3:14 a.m. local time, the bombs dropped. First, the Fordow Enrichment Facility, built inside a mountain. Then, Natanz, Iran's largest known enrichment site. Finally, the Isfahan Heavy Water Facility. Each hit was precise, each target vaporized. And by 4 a.m., the bombers were gone, back into the darkness. The official American statement was clinical. A preemptive strike to prevent nuclear proliferation. Iran called it a declaration of war. But what exactly was destroyed? Fordow wasn't just an enrichment center. Intelligence suggests it also housed an early-stage warhead assembly line. Sources claim neutron initiators were recovered, partially fused and heavily shielded. At Natanz, high-speed centrifuge cascades had begun enriching uranium beyond 90%. Some estimates said Iran was weeks away from a functioning bomb core. And in Isfahan, it wasn't just reactors. Analysts now believe it was a command center for Project Daedalus. Project Daedalus was unlike anything seen before. Iran planned to launch a satellite, Sahand 7, within days. The satellite was officially called a weather probe. In reality, it was allegedly designed to detonate a high-altitude EMP. At 400 kilometers altitude, it could have knocked out power grids across Europe, shut down air traffic, crippled military communications, and blinded early warning systems. All without a single human casualty. The satellite was set to launch 3 days after the US bombing. Was it coincidence? Or did American intelligence know exactly what was coming? We may never know for sure. In the hours that followed, the world reacted. Israel praised the operation. Russia condemned it. China called it an act of reckless imperialism. The United Nations convened an emergency meeting. But behind closed doors, something strange happened. Nobody demanded Iran's nuclear rights be restored. Even nations that publicly denounced the strike privately expressed relief. Because while the attack violated sovereignty, it may have prevented something worse. Iran vowed revenge, but a direct military confrontation would be suicidal. So, the retaliation came indirectly. Within 24 hours, 3 oil tankers were attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthi rebels launched drones at Saudi infrastructure. Cyber attacks hit power grids in Eastern Europe. Iran denied involvement, but the fingerprints were unmistakable. This is the new warfare. Proxy strikes, digital sabotage, economic disruption. So, was the US justified? That depends on your definition of justification. Was there hard proof of a bomb test? Possibly not. Was there enough circumstantial evidence to act? Almost certainly. Because here's the chilling truth. Waiting until the first mushroom cloud appears may be too late. But not everyone believes the story ends there. Some suggest the operation wasn't entirely American. There are whispers of joint Israeli involvement, Mossad insiders embedded in the chain of command, cyber units from the UK and France feeding real-time satellite data. A coalition strike, made to look unilateral. And the biggest conspiracy? That Iran's own scientists leaked the data. Because even they feared what the regime had planned. Whether those theories hold up is another question. But history has taught us that truth and secrecy often walk hand in hand. What we know for certain is this: Operation Midnight Hammer didn't just destroy bunkers, it destroyed illusions. The illusion that diplomacy always wins, the illusion that threats can be ignored until they become too big, the illusion that nuclear ambition, once lit, can be contained. In the days since the strike, Iran's leadership has promised retaliation, at a time and place of their choosing. But their facilities are crippled, their programs set back years, their allies increasingly hesitant, and their enemies? Awake, alert, watching. For now, the world is calm, but it's the kind of calm that feels unnatural, too quiet, too temporary. Because beneath that calm lies something deeper. A new Cold War, a digital arms race, a future where the next attack won't be from the sky, but from space or code or silence itself. And in that future, every nation has a decision to make.